total hemlock all the way across behind the garage, and it was so secluded that you would never know you're a block from downtown Manchester.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that the landscape has changed so much.
Now this looks like an old porch too.
This was a grape arbor. It still has the when we moved in, the old 4x4s were still in there, and there was a 2x6 bolted against the house, but it was all rotting and on its last leg, and so I had to take that down. But I've never gotten around to rebuilding it the way it was.
Every side of the house is to the same quality of design. Sometimes the front of the house will see a higher standard than the back, but it all looks very
Yeah,
nice.
every side of it has a unique look to it. Yes, it does. And I think, of course, this side here, I'm doing some work. The ladder's out, and doesn't look as attractive as the rest of this place.
This is an old tree.
This is, yeah, and this is the hatchway we're talking about
Oh,
in the front.
Yeah.
This was also all rebuilt. Quite matter of fact, I had to take all that out. The round arch at the bottom was all rotted out, and just took everything apart. And I had to lay all these granite pieces that were loose. It's so many years ago. If I had to do it over again, I don't know that I would jump on the same boat.
Buy one of those replacement hatchways that you pop in.
Sure. Okay, we can go back in here and then take a look around.
Okay. This window is on what we would consider the back porch,
Right.
where you would first come in the modern era, and you were saying that you did some detective work on this window?
Well, when I gutted the kitchen, you could see against the inside wall an original old sink. The sink line that had been taken out and painted around was up high, but that the kitchen had been modernized, and in doing that, they took out what appeared to be an original double-hung window, and put this in its place with two doors that open, and put this panel in the bottom because the inside they needed more space for the sink, and the inside you can only tell when the kitchen was gutted and ripped apart. You see the telltale signs of what it was before.
Oh.
Okay.
And you think that might have been part of the 1917 remodeling?
I can only guess, Susan. I would think so, because again, we'll see in the house here, there are other telltale signs that showed up when I gutted the kitchen. We'll go in and take a look.
Okay.
And you'll see.
I love the green. Cheney green.
Yeah.
Did you pick that out, or it was that color?
No, that was a match job. I mixed it with brown, yellow, and green paint. Just mixed them together to get the right tone.
But this is the original size of the kitchen, even if it's not.
Oh no, it is the original kitchen, but it was completely gutted and modernized. 25 years ago. Did a tremendous amount of work. It had no soffits or cabinets up on top originally, so I ripped everything apart right down to the studs, and got all brand new wiring, all brand new plumbing, and then everything was wet plastered, not drywall the way it was originally, and then put all the cupboards in, and of course we were talking on the porch. You can see here the window is shorter. It was like that. I think it was like the window over the cutting board, a full-size window, because when you look over to the stove, those telltale lines were all in there where they built all that up. And the other thing that was different is, and that's why I think to your question, Susan, was that when the wing was added, this kitchen was redone because this opening right here wasn't there. And when I gutted it, you could see where the original brick on the outside was all broken out, and then they put a header over the top to hold it up and opened the wall up.
I see.
And this smaller door on this side was an original outside door, because these panels here, when I did the kitchen, I took these off and to clean them all up and restore it. And underneath here, you could see the original threshold plate, the original hinges from the old doors, and the latchway from the old doors. Even the latchway was a small metal cast brass, steel iron plate with a screen door latch.
Huh.
And so we know that this was an external door because it showed the markings of an internal door and the screen door both. So when the wing was added, this was then opened up, and they have another external door on the other end of the room.
They're very high ceilings.
Yeah, they're 9 feet 6 in the house. So this room, the TV room, is about 10 or 11 feet high. The wing that they added, and upstairs also is a higher ceiling, which is nice. Gives a nice appearance.
Yeah.
And but all of the work in here was quite extensive. This doorway here goes is a really a live-in help. There were 2 rooms for maids, servants, or whatever, and this was their entrance to the work area of the house. And then there was another door right on the other side that went down the basement. But when I remodernized it years ago, there wasn't enough room over there, so I changed the stairway and moved it around the sideway. That opened up the avenue to the aisleway. And then I had to move the transom window over a few 3 or 4 inches to center it on the door, because it didn't look right. And then off to the side here, this was another original piece. Of course, now we have a wood stove here, but originally this was their gas stove, because they had natural gas in the house years and years ago, and of course the hole was still in the floor where the pipe came in. And so now it's a convenient place for a little wood stove.
And this is the TV room over here?
Yeah, I know. I don't know if there's enough light in here for you or not.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a laundry room originally. This is now our TV room. This is another room that I gutted right to the studs and insulated the roof and insulated the outside wall. Re-wet plastered the whole room. Made a lot of moldings over here. There had been a fire years and years ago in here, and the chair rail molding on the back wall was all missing, and the wainscot below it was all burned out. So some of these moldings have all been, I had to remake them to match the original. And all the woodwork in here had, just tons of coats of paint on it. It was just horrible. And so we had to remove all of that. And then I had to put in a new wooden floor, because when we took up the linoleum, the original wooden floor had all the holes, because it was a laundry room, and this whole wall was laundry room tubs. And of course the drains and the water lines and all that was all through the wood, and fire damage at this end. And and it was another modification. Again, you can only tell after it was gutted. I think when they built the wing, they had a front porch on where the 3 windows and the door is. And you could tell down the basement that the floor that was in here stepped down 3 or 4 inches, and so they redid it and raised the floor. The joist work in the base down the basement have all been raised 3 or 4 inches just where the porch is. And then when you gut the sidewalls, you can see that there were arches where the windows were, just like the back porch. And they've all been closed in and redone. You could also see where a built-in gutter had a hole that was since covered up as part of the redo. And then the last clue, of course, was all the red brick in here was tarred, except that wall where the desk is, because that was an outside finished wall, part of the original porch. So anyway, that was, and I can only guess, when that was done, sometime after 1917. And then they had a half bath here that was quite large, and so I made that, cut it back, and I took all the walls out and make it the half bath much smaller.
So, that's over here?
Yeah, the original
Oh,
bath,
that's handy to have it right near the,
yeah, the original bath came out to here, another 4 feet. And it was huge, and there was, here, we can turn the light on, we get a little bit of light. And this was the same thing, all of these moldings were missing in here, so I had to make all those to match the rest of the room.
looks like your wife did some decorating too. Is she the one with the draperies and curtains?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well, she's in charge of that.
Yeah. I'm sorry she's at work today and couldn't participate in the TV show.
Yeah, she works 2 days a week still. And I built a little closet in there to,
Closet?
yeah.
You must have reused all the doorknobs though.
Everything was original, and it's interesting, is all the doorknobs and the door plates had paint and more paint on them. And the same with all the hinges. These are all the original hinges up here throughout the house. And they had more paint than metal on them.
You had to take them out then too?
Oh, it took everything apart. This one door, just as an example, had countless coats of paint on it. And when you have these trim boards in here, you can never get the paint back out. And so you have to take all these boards out
No.
on both sides of the door, and then strip all the paint off, and then put it all back. Take the hinges out, soak them in lye to get all the paint off of them. Same with the brass, and then all the brass, I buff it all up, put lacquer on it. And it's interesting, I've done that in several rooms of the house, and what I have found, including this room, is that the woodwork was originally stained and varnished, and then it was painted over repeatedly. When you strip the paint off, you get down to that first coat of varnish and stain, so in fact it's back the way it was when the house was built.
Do you know what kind of wood it is?
This is pine.
Pine.
Yeah, but a lot of the houses got basswood doors and trim. And I'm sorry, this here is fir. This is pine. And this is fir, and the trim in there is all fir. As a matter of fact, I think the pantry is Doug fir. This room, the trim is all fir. And then, because this is servants' quarters, so Douglas fir was probably a little less expensive to use. And then the rest of the house, they have a higher quality wood for the trim.
Was this room, would you say, in the worst disrepair? With the fire and everything?
It was close, Susan, but probably the master bath was in the dressing room to it was really terrible on the second floor, because the water damage there, all the plaster fell off of the roof, off of the ceiling, and you just had the lath board up there, and there was a great big standalone tub, the old ball and claw tub, and it was half filled with plaster. Nobody had thrown it away.
And you weren't discouraged, huh?
Well, no, no.
You never looked back and said, why didn't I buy a nice house built in 1975 or something?
Yeah, but then what would I do with my time? Okay, we take a walk through here.
Okay.
You know, here's another
this is
interesting
beautiful.
thing. Yeah, you know, when you look at all the time that it took to restore the kitchen, this little pantry probably took more time. It's just unbelievable. It was just so much. First off, it was originally stained and varnished, and it had been painted more times than you could count. But the amount of work to restore this just took forever. I had to take on the inside, even like over here. Look at this one door behind you here. There's what, 15 panes of glass in here, and all the putty was cracked. I had to take all the putty out, take all the glass out, then strip all the paint off, put all the glass back, re-putty it, and then restain it, and the inside of all the shelves were everything was stripped to the bare wood. The back wall was all crumbling and cracked, so I took all that off and I re-wet plastered the whole wall. And the other thing, here's an original board, same thing, Douglas fir. When I took this out, behind the board, a calendar fell down there from 1914, a complete calendar, and a couple other little mementos that I found behind the board.
Wow.
And then the doors up on the top and the doors on the bottom were all in the basement.
Oh.
They weren't even on here when we moved in.
Now, what would that have been used for? I
It's
can't
just,
even
it's
touch
just,
it.
well, it's just storage,
Uh-huh.
storage space, okay? But these doors were, these were here. The bottom doors, these doors, and these over here were all down the basement. But they still had the original hinges and hardware. This is all the original stuff. I just cleaned it all up and stripped all the paint off, and all the original drawers are in here, which is a wood on wood, and they just work great.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
They're over
no
100
rollers,
years old.
over 100 years old, and they just pull out as easy as pie.
These all brass
And
too?
it's all original, it's all brass. It was all painted all over and stripped it all down. All this was all painted. And the ceiling was another one. The ceiling had countless coats of paint, and it's that beaded, tongue and groove bead molding board rather. And it's great. It got so much character to it. And so I stripped all the paint off and kept it white, repainted it white.
This must be for tablecloths.
Well, for everything. You know, it's like a refrigerator. The bigger the refrigerator, the more stuff you put in it. Well, the pantry's the same thing. The more room you got, the more stuff goes in it.
Now we're going into the formal dining room?
Yes, yes. This was the first room I did over, back 1977, 78, a long time ago. And it was not too bad shape. When I took the wallpaper off, it was original plaster. It had never been painted, which was really great. But what did take a lot of time was stripping all the woodwork down. I mean, everything was like the rest of the house. It had lots and lots of coats of paint on it.
This is an unusual ceiling.
Well, the ceiling, I think what happened here is we're below the master bedroom, and there had been damage, water damage. So what this ceiling is a sheet of drywall over the original because of the water damage. And it's held up. I mean, it was like that when we moved in. Someone else had it repaired. The cove molding just took a lot of repair effort because it had so much paint on it and chipping and cracking, and to remove all that and to repaint it, I must have spent $50, $100 redoing that.
That's wood or plaster?
No, it's plaster. Yeah.
It's touchy to work with.
Yeah, it just took a lot of time, and when you chip the paint off, you get chunks of plaster, and you got to re-plaster it, and just got to be very careful.
This is a very nice sized room.
Yes, it is. It's 17 by 21, and so it's good when we have holiday get-togethers because we have a large table and you can see, 14, 16 people at it when you pull it all out. And then the built-in cabinet was another task. You take a look at that.
Was that originally in the house?
Yes, this is all original. Well, it's partly original because what's different about it now is someone had damaged the inside, these little bead moldings. About a third of them were missing, and one of these was kicked out, so I had to remake all that and put it all together. And the same thing in here is everything was painted, and I stripped it all back down, and it was the same thing. It was originally stained and varnished. And the two doors in the bottom were down the basement, because there's two doors behind it. That's the booze cabinet. And but all the original hinges and hardware were still on it, so we managed to save all that. And that was lucky, so you don't have to try to match something over again. The only thing that probably took a lot of time was this wall. This wall had never been wallpapered, and it had so much paint on it that all of the plastered area looked like a dried riverbed, where it peels and rolls apart. And so you get behind it with a scraper, and it all comes off, and now that's all you see is the rough chunks of plaster underneath it. And so I re-wet plastered in between all of this, and which has held up remarkably well.
This wood was all here?
And the wood was all painted. I had to strip it all down, and so the replastering job is just luckily just held up beautifully over the last 30 years. Back the way it was.
The ancestors here?
Those are my grandparents
Uh-huh.
on my mother's side. That's a wedding picture from 1905. Yeah. Yeah, I found those when I was 10 years old, staying at my grandmother's house. I saw them in the bottom drawer of a dresser. And when she died 25 years ago, my mother said, hey, we're getting rid of splitting anything up, anything you want. And I said, well, you know, there's two bubble glass pictures of Grandma and Grandpa. I like those. So here I ended up. Nobody wanted them. Original old hand-painted pictures. Bubble glass and, yeah, fine detail. Isn't that something?
Yes, yes. I love the
Thing
molding over the
with
tops
the
of your
keystone.
doors.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it took a lot of time to strip all paint off all that. Again, same thing, Susan. This and both of these doors, same thing. It was just see the difference in the wood here. Beautiful wood.
It is beautiful.
But instead of Douglas fir, and I think it's basswood, but I'm not sure. It also maybe it's walnut. I'm just not sure of the grain, but it is a beautiful wood. And all this was painted. It was just to redo all of it. It just well worth the time.
Oh my goodness, this is just beautiful. What do you call these things?
Replacements.
Oh, the replacements?
Yeah, yeah. When we moved in, there were. We'll see later as you take pictures on the other side. Matter of fact, these two were missing. This was missing. That was missing, and two of them over on the other side here were missing. And up on the top, one of them was missing. And my wife's brother is. He's an artist, sort of a guy, and he does a lot of fancy woodwork. So he replaced these 25 years ago or so. And the irony of it was, he lives in Michigan. I sent him two originals to duplicate, top and the bottom. He took a few months, built them, packaged them up, and UPS lost them.
No.
And never to be found again. So I had to send him two more, and then he replaced all of them. And this time we got them. But he did such a beautiful job. I even now I remember there were just two pieces here that were done over, but I don't know and I can't tell which ones were original and which ones were not. He just did an incredible job of duplicating the lost pieces, which is now twice as many as what it was. And this is the front porch.
Oh, look at that door.
This is a Dutch door.
Oh yeah.
So we never open up, and it's got solid brass hinges on it too, huge heavy brass, and they were all painted over. Isn't that something?
I think Emily Cheney never mentions the Dutch door in her book.
Does or doesn't?
Does.
Does mention.
Yeah, I think she does. Everything is so big. The ceilings are big, and the doors are big.
Yeah. Well, this is a 42-inch wide door. That's a large front door. Well, this is the main staircase, and this also took a lot of work too. Although this always was natural wood. I didn't have to strip this. We just had to clean it all up, and it was pretty good. But the ceiling has been all broken out, and I re-wet plastered that. It had cracked over the years, and someone had put drywall over the top. That's why these fixtures were missing, because when they drywalled over the top of it, they lowered the ceiling a half an inch, and they could no longer fit those fittings on it. So when we moved in, see, they were in a bag. They were laying on the floor down the basement, and
some people shouldn't be allowed to renovate.
Yeah, well, someone really butchered that. But anyway, so as a result, the only way to get that back, those posts, they only have the minimal clearance to fasten those wooden pieces, and so when I took the drywall off and threw it away and then broke out the old original ceiling, I re-wet plastered, put it the way it was, and all those pieces went back exactly where they were, so it came out really well.
Is this the living room over here to the right?
Yeah, yeah. Take a walk in here.
Now this is a big room too.
Yeah, this is a really just a beautiful place. And I just redid this 2 years ago. I did it originally in about 1980, and it had grass cloth on when we first moved in. It really looked quite nice, nice textury finish. So we decided to leave that and just paint over it. But all the woodwork in here, except for the fireplace, I stripped down to bare wood because there was so much paint on it, and that was a big job. But the place was in pretty good shape. I had the floors all resanded and redone. Same thing with
These
the
are beautiful floors.
the floors are, yeah. Oh, the floors are just a
Curly
work of
maple or
art.
something?
No,
What is-
this is quarter sawn white oak.
Quarter
Sawn white oak. It is just beautiful, and all long pieces. And of course, the edge of the woodwork on the edge is all is done with a different design. Same in the dining room.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't noticed that. Beautiful.
And then the ceiling. The ceiling was always, the main part of the ceiling was really in great shape.
Mhm.
It just, no cracks, no nothing. The only thing that took a lot of time, like the dining room, was this cold molding. The same thing, just a lot of hours to chip all off, chip the old paint off and to redo it.
Now, are these
So-
plastered too, or are these wood?
No, it's all, oh no, that's wood.
That's
That's wood. The only thing that's plaster is the big cold molding.
I see.
So then about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it had been 25 years, it was time to redo the living room over. And, but now the grass cloth was lifting and was looking terrible, time to take it off. So we removed that, and the walls had so much paint on it, it was horrible. It just looked like the dining room, like a cracked riverbed. There is no way that you can paint that and have it look good. So in my infinite wisdom, I decided we got to do it right, so I closed off the panel doors. It was in the wintertime, and opened 2 windows on the cross side. Got a respirator for lead, and then I got a torch, and I removed all the paint in the whole room off the walls. And
Do you think it was lead paint?
oh, certainly, because it goes back to 1900 when the house was built. But took it right to the original bare plaster, and then repainted everything, and so now when you look at it, you know, it's just crisp, sharp lines. The walls are so, you know, perfectly smooth. All the woodwork's been stripped, so it's really looks good.
It
finally.
sure does.
Yeah.
Now, I'm noticing
Yeah.
what you had mentioned about the thickness of the walls.
Yeah,
You can
Yeah.
kind of see from here, what did you say, 15 inches?
yeah, it's up 12 to 15 inches. You can see from the outside of the storm way out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right out here. Now you got to remember, there's no 2x4 stud. There's only a furring strip on the brick. So the plaster only takes up a little bit here. So you really go from here to the end of the aluminum frame out there, which is, well, it's a good 12, 13 inches, and that's the 3 layers of brick with the air space in between them.
And you kept the rope windows?
I kept all the, yeah, I replaced most of them. They had been broken, but all of the windows in here, everything, just, you know, because it's got the, all the window weights are still in there, and it's not as energy efficient as a modern window, of course, but everything works, you know, the way it was years ago.
Is this the servant's bell?
No, that's for this light right here.
Oh.
The old turnbuckle, yep, and that's an original one, nickel-plated brass, so I kept those. I kept all the old push-button, wherever, anything that it was original, I kept.
So this is the back hallway. We've come in the front door, we passed the front stairs that go up to the 2nd floor, and this is the back hallway.
Well, when we were talking about that new wing that was added,
Yeah.
okay, where we're standing now, we're behind that big white clapboard wall where you saw the spiral stairway.
Yeah.
And the original door, the outside door, was this opening here. Okay, so when they redid in 19 whatever to add this wing to my left, this hallway was added, and this was the original front door. Okay, and then the other thing that they did when we were in the living room, you saw the windows with the drapes. Well, one of the windows is a fake.
Yeah.
It's not a fake window, but that window is right here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so when they added the wall, they just boarded that up. So from the living room, it looks like it's an outside window because it's symmetrical on both sides of the dining room. But in fact, this one is now closed off. So
This is a beautiful floor too.
yes, this also is all quarter sawn white oak.
And this is the alternate entrance
This
perhaps?
is the right. This is where we were talking about the driveways used to go right past that tree there, and And that's where the chauffeur would stop and pick up or drop off and use this side entrance.
Isn't there a big closet near here? There usually is.
Well, there's another half bath in here, one of the 7 that we were talking about. This one was,
7
again,
baths?
7 bathrooms, yeah. Well, including a couple of half baths, okay? But this bathroom was another one that was, I did 30 years ago or so. Had removed all the paint on the walls. It didn't have any wallpaper, it was just way too much paint. And just stripped everything all down and repainted and redid, and so now it looks kind of nice. And this is a laundry room. And this always was a laundry room. When Kimberly Cheney was here years and years ago.
That was Emily's older brother?
Yes.
Or one of her brothers?
Yeah, one of the older brothers. And this was what he called it was their mud room. When they were out playing or whatever and came in, they always had to come in this back door. There's an original laundry tub. Now again, we're in the new wing. And the new wing is built after 1901 and between 1917 when the other addition was made. But as I said earlier, the wiring and the plain wood and the joist dates it beyond the 1901. But it always was a mudroom, and now we just made a laundry room out of it. And there was, and I'm not sure if they had a working fireplace, but when we moved in, that wall had a closed off fireplace. It was bricked up because the houses never had furnaces. None of the homes up here had them, and the heat came from steam from the mill area, and so there was just a big heat exchanger in the basement, and then they piped both steam to radiators and hot air through ductwork. So when the Cheney's one broke, they all had to put furnaces in the house, and when they did that, they needed a flue, so they took this flue from this fireplace, and now it's a furnace flue, so it was all boarded up. So I just wet plastered over the top of it and closed it off for good.
How did it happen that Kimberly Cheney came here? Did he phone ahead or just showed up?
It was a day in the summer of 1978. And
So you had recently moved here.
Yeah, because we had been here a couple 3 years, and there was like a historical society walkthrough on half a dozen of the homes.
Yeah.
And they were down at the other end going through one of the bigger homes, and he meandered across the lawn with his wife. I was out in the front yard working, trimming bushes or doing something, and they introduced himself, and wow, no kidding, gee whiz. And now at the time, let's see, that was 1978, so I'm 38 years old. He was 70, 75-ish at the time, and so he spent a couple hours and came in the house, and he just gave me all kinds of stories of growing up here and he's the one that told me at the other end there where the laundry room was. He's the one that described the tubs all along the wall, and that come Thanksgiving they had boiled turkeys and fried turkeys, and on the 3rd floor when he was in college, that's where he and his buddies went up there to drink because his dad was a teetotaler.
Oh, right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So there were a lot of stories that he said.
Oh, this is your music room, perhaps?
This is now our music room. Yeah.